This is today's 830 WCCO, The Jack Rice Show. Welcome to the program. Very thrilled to have with me the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Harry Reid. Senator, thank you for joining the program.
Jack, it's my pleasure to, be real quick here, but my in-laws immigrated from Russia, Canada, and my two in-laws, one Duluth, one Minneapolis.
Now, where are they from? Originally, I mean.
Father-in-law, Russia, my mother-in-law, Lithuania.
It's amazing how many people have come up through the upper Midwest and have worked their way throughout the country. And, it's funny when we start out talking about the immigration thing, and for a while the immigration topic was a huge one in this country. And what I don't understand, Senator, is that sometimes people think of the people who are coming into this country now as less than, when weren't most of us these very same people? I don't mean to go down that path, but I figured we might.
When I first got started in this immigration debate, I was I had a lack of understanding about immigration. It's black and white. It's this way, it's this way. And my wife reminded me, she said, my father was born in Russia. Your grandmother was born in England. And in effect, she said, why don't you just cool it and be a little more sensible about this? And that was a big lesson for me.
I read a lot about your life in your book, The Good Fight, Hard Lessons from Searchlight to Washington. And a lot of this really surprised me because I'd be honest, I didn't know a lot about your background. I want to get into some of that in a minute, but if we could start with one other point I'm trying to understand. If we go back to 2006, and this was when you were Senate Minority Leader, you were made Senate Majority Leader when the voters decided they wanted the Democrats to have control of both the House and the Senate. And it seemed to me the number one reason they wanted that is they wanted the United States out of Iraq. Have you guys failed? Have you failed?
I am as disappointed as the American people, but let me give you and your listeners a little quick observation. Before the 9 new Democratic senators were sworn into office, Tim Johnson of South Dakota became extremely ill, was in a coma for 5 months, out of work for 10 months. My majority was 50 to 49, and look what happened now. Lieberman, who supports us on most everything, votes against us every time on the war. I had no majority. It was 49 me, 50 them. And so that made a pretty uphill battle. But in spite of that, we pushed forward. We had a number of very important votes. The highest we could get is 57. We couldn't get enough Republicans to help us. But we fought a valiant battle, and we were able to change some things in Iraq. Not enough. We didn't get our troops home, but we got armor for the vehicles. We got armor for the troops. We were able to step in and stop the scandal at Walter Reid. So, yes, we have not delivered as the American people wanted us to, and I know that.
Is there a way around this? When you control the purse strings, is it a question of guts or the fear that you'll be branded as unpatriotic that has driven that? Some have suggested seriously that you should just simply say no. Of
course that's part of it. But remember, even that way, we have to have 60 votes. We could never get 60 votes. This government set up the way it was 230-plus years ago was unique. But the Senate is not the House of Representatives. Yeah, the Senate was set up to protect minorities. By that, not racial minorities, but minorities. The Senate is to protect minorities. Majority always can protect themselves. As a result of that, it makes it difficult to comprehend sometimes. But we could never get above 57 votes to change when our troops are coming home.
Do you think things have changed to the point now where you will simply say, okay, you know what, we are done here, we can't win this, so therefore we're going to, and I'll let you fill in the blank?
The worst foreign policy blunder in the history of our country is going into the 6th year. We're about 6 years and 5 and a third years through. We've lost 4,100 Americans, costing us $5,000 every second. And as Joseph Stiglitz, the Nobel Prize-winning economist, has said it's going to cost $3 trillion. We have to get out. We have no choice. Cody, a 4-star general, active duty today, been in the Army 38 years, said, I have never seen the military in such a state since I've been in the military. It's bad. We've got to do something about it. So, yeah, we're going to get a new president. We're going to have to bring our troops home, focus on Afghanistan, leave the Iraqis, who now have a $100 billion surplus, to kind of take off the training wheels and do their own thing in Iraq.
According to recent polls, the number one concern of Americans is the economy. How much control does the Senate, how much control does Congress really have over this, or are we simply sort of riding blind?
We have, yes, economy, number one, gas prices, and everything we do on a major basis has to come from the White House. It's been that way going back to the days of George Washington. President Bush has been unable and unwilling to work with us. He's unable because of who he is and how he looks at life. And so we have had a situation where we are trying. We're trying real hard. We have fought. We got around all the hurdles placed by the Republican senators and by the president. We were able to increase CAFE standards for the first time in 30 years. We've been able to do a few things, but it has been extremely difficult. The Republicans broke the congressional record on filibusters in a short 10 months. I wish there could be more done with Congress only, but our government was not set up that way.
If we look at ExxonMobil for just a second, tied to the economy, they made $36 billion in 2007, more than $10 billion a quarter since that time alone. Some have been talking about using a tax on those kinds of profits. What are you going to do about that?
Well, we have a package we introduced yesterday that does a lot of that stuff. We feel that we should stop subsidizing the oil companies. They've made more money this last year than any companies in the history of the world. And we need to step back and say it's wrong. We need a windfall profits tax. We need a price gouging function that works well. We have to also take a whack at OPEC. Herb Cole from Wisconsin has been pushing legislation for years. That's part of our package to let them know that they're subject to the Sherman Antitrust Act. So we have some things that have to go directly to the oil companies. And by the way, these are not, great American oil companies. They're international cartels, basically.
Senator Clinton has suggested that we have a vacation on the federal gas tax, and yet we're talking about billions of dollars that go into the Highway Trust Fund. There's a lot of economists who've said, you know what, this is nothing but pandering. Is it?
Minneapolis is an example of how we cannot deplete our Highway Trust Fund. It's already $5 billion short. We in Nevada need a lot of work done on our infrastructure. You do too. I am one who says that we need to do more with our infrastructure, not less. I think that answers the question.
One last question before we turn to a lot of the facts in your book, too. Some have been talking about Hillary Clinton dropping out of the race, staying in the race. I know you've talked a lot about this. But what others are suggesting, if she doesn't want the role of vice president, she might want the Senate majority job. She might want your job. Would you step down to allow her to take it?
This idea came from some Republican. Or really did. He wrote a little column. I'm selected by 50 Democratic senators. Senator Clinton has some real fans in the Senate, but as you know, it's fairly equally divided between her and Obama. Biden came back to work. He's got a major committee he handles. Dodd came back. He's got a lot of work to do. And it's the same with Hillary Clinton. If she is the one that comes back, she's got a lot to do. She doesn't need to worry about my job. Hillary Clinton and I have been friends for a long time. She's not about to start going after my job.